So Drake faculty and staff, for the past several months within Honors Practicum, we have talked about concepts and ideas ranging from liberal education and social networking all the way to the idea of race and privilege. Within all these topics, there was one central core idea and concept that we all took away from it, and that was the importance of different perspectives, the importance of having more interdisciplinary classes and courses in order to expand and further deepen our education, and the idea of also focusing more on the psychology of how students think and trying to work with that as well. So, obviously, every university within the US, including Drake, could use areas of improvement. A lot of the times we like to refer to other countries and how they structure their courses. And one country I'll be using throughout this discussion is Finland, since it's been rated recently as one of the best countries in the world in regards to education, all the way from elementary school to college education. So you'll see me refer to that every now and then. But first, I'd like to talk about the importance and how we could further make courses interdisciplinary at Drake. So, the importance of having interdisciplinary courses is almost understood everywhere. But to further that point, there have been studies performed in the past. Some I can name off right now, such as Repco 2009, Newell 1990, Kowalowski 1979, and many others. And these, as I mentioned, I'll be drawing on within the facts I bring you right now. So, these studies have shown us and identified a number of distinct benefits of interdisciplinary learning, including gains in the ability to, 1, students being able to recognize bias, 2, the ability of students to think more critically, 3, students can tolerate and identify ambiguity more, and lastly, they acknowledge and appreciate ethical concerns within their courses. So these are just some benefits we get away from having more interdisciplinary courses within college settings. But a lot of times what's hard to do is to implement that kind of idea within the courses. Everyone can understand the benefits, but the implementation is what we need. So, drawing from examples from Finland, what they've done in their experiment in making education deeper and just overall better is they've tried to equalize educational opportunities as much as they can. So, for example, the courses we would get in honors would be open to every student. So there wouldn't be an AOI track and an honors track, just one track in general. And being an honors student, I can appreciate the classes we get in honors. However, our courses tend to be more interdisciplinary than those in the AOI track. So if you could provide those same classes to kids who are on the normal track, those students would be able to get more than just, say, honor students. And there wouldn't be a different mindset for kids who are in AOI versus honors. Because in the end, kids in honors and AOIs studied just about the same. And it's not like as if honors kids are smarter than kids in AOIs, but rather we just have a different way of thinking. But every student should be allowed to venture in those ways of thinking. So it's not fair to limit those different methodologies to just honor students. So one thing we would have to do is present only one track for everyone and provide similar courses that presented honors to those in AOIs. So, for example, one way you can make this track more interdisciplinary is to have classes within qualitative learning or artistic experience, have classes that could benefit all majors and all minors. So, for example, it's really hard for students, say for myself, who have majors in politics or economics, to really benefit from any class in artistic experience. What can a politics student get from drawing or painting or taking photos? Not much. But if you were to provide courses such as propaganda appreciation or the history of marketing, anything like that, then kids who are in a business school can maybe take a class such as, let's say, history of marketing and advertisements and learn about the art of advertisements and marketing and thus make a connection between their business classes and the arts part of marketing. Same for politics students. They could learn about the art of propaganda and how it affects cultures and societies, and then make those and then bring that what they learned from that class to what they're learning in comparative politics or history or whatever they're taking for their politics major. And that's just one idea you could do to allow more fluidity within courses and structures within Drake. Is just provide classes where kids in all kinds of majors can take from areas of just experience or qualitative learning. Because sometimes if you don't provide that connectivity between classes, kids will just take the course for the hours and then just forget everything they learned from it. Another thing to do is to also focus on not just the subject in classes, but also making sure you teach kids methods of learning and thinking. And that's the major thing that we took away from Practicum, is how whenever we come across a topic, we think about it in a different way than before. So just implement the very ways of doing that within more of these classes, which is simply to have more discussion-based maybe projects, or just more discussion-based classes in general. So make comparative politics, make economics, make biology, whatever have you, have more discussions in class about the topics, because then students can explore more and think deeper, since they'll have students talking from different perspectives and ideas. And because of that, you allow students better tools in talking with one another and thinking differently. Also provide assignments that allow kids to have to think in different ways than before. So one example is in, say, philosophy classes or politics classes. If you were to assign a paper, have students write on a stance that they usually don't stand on. So for an easy example, if you're talking about the philosophy or the cultural ideas in the United States, you could talk about gun laws. For those who say more gun control, have them take the opposite stance. And for those who say less gun control, they take the opposite stance. And they have to create a paper and do a research project on those stances and then provide that to the professor in written form. That's just one idea you could have students think more deeply about just anything in everyday life, is force them to think on the opposite terms. And because that, they'll probably then take away from that new ways of thinking, and thus maybe question and analyze themselves what their beliefs and opinions are, which will be beneficial for everybody. But moving away from just the idea of more interdisciplinary courses, another thing you have to focus on is also make sure you don't make classes too long and implementing more active ways of learning. So in a study performed in 2010 by Bunce, Flens, and Niels, and a few others as well, the study was called How Long Can Students Pay Attention in Class? And it was a study of student attention in general. And so they did this study in regards to how long can students pay attention and what are the lapses of that attention. So they performed this within a chemistry class. And they gave students clickers in order to see how often they would pay attention. And something that was really interesting taking away from this was that two of the most frequently employed active learning methods were demonstrations and questions. And all the students in the class answered the questions using a clicker. So student participants were therefore using two different clickers, one to answer the instructor's questions and one to report attention lapses. The researchers found that there were fewer attention lapses reported during active learning methods compared to those reported during lecture segments. So they also found that there were fewer reported lapses in attention during lapses in attention during lecture segments in the period immediately following either a demonstration or a question when compared to lecture segments that preceded the active learning methods. So basically this finding hints at the possibility that active learning methods have dual benefits. One, engaging students' attention during the segments when faculty use these methods, and two, refreshing attention immediately afterwards. So if professors were just to give more questions and demonstrations during class lectures, students would be able to focus more and retain more from what they learn, as opposed to just having a professor just go on a very, very, very long lecture. And there's also personal experiences for myself in both my psychology class and microeconomics. Within my psychology course, my professor will try to engage students as much as possible in questions and try to provide as much intriguing material in forms of maybe a few video clips or just demonstrations of the ideas that are being talked about. So instead of just talking about mental disorders or dissociative behaviors, she'll show us clips of actual people who have those behaviors or disorders in order to kind of reinforce what we're learning about and also bring back our attention. So more active and student-focused activities and methods within classroom settings will be very beneficial for students and also regain our attention. Another thing that we also need to focus on in regards to classrooms is providing more ways to encourage social networking. So one good example is the first year seminars. Kids in the first year seminars often have welcome week to get to know each other, which in regards we get to know each other on a more personal level. So whenever we go into FYS and we see each other all the time, we then have more motivation to talk to each other and therefore motivate study groups, bounce ideas off of each other, and even provide different ways of looking at a topic. So whenever I'm writing about a paper in my FOIS, I may refer to my friends in my FOIS about, hey, what are you doing? What are you writing on? And whenever I hear these discussions, it makes me think, I didn't think about it like that before, and then it adds to my paper. Now, I'm not saying that for every class you can have a week where we just spend together and do activities and name games, for that would be impractical. But within classrooms, try to provide more group activities, group projects, just group assignments in general, or just simply ways to have kids just talk to each other in class. So going back to group discussions, that'd be a great way to encourage, one, getting different perspectives, but two, just getting to know each other more. Because whenever students are more familiar with each other in class, they have more motivation to talk to each other and gain different ideas, which will benefit all students in the classroom. Because social networking has huge benefits in regards to not just making friends, but what you can get within your educational experience from making those friends and talking to them. So simple ideas of just providing more group assignments and group projects will fulfill that idea and requirement. So doing a really brief summary, the ideas that I mainly talked about in order to better classes in general is, one, make them more interdisciplinary by allowing more fluidity within the courses and just courses and classes provided within tracks. To eliminate having two different tracks to have just one in which all students can explore and gain new methods of thinking. 3, shorten classes and don't have 3-hour labs in mornings. Make sure you try to actually reduce how short classes are and span them out within a week so that way kids can take more from them. And add to that, make sure you add active learning and student-centered lessons. And then lastly, make sure you can provide social networking opportunities for students within classrooms. If universities like Drake and others around the nation can actually make these incorporations, then we'll be on a path in the right direction in order to improve college education for all American students. Now, we're very far from being in, let's say, the best, like Finland, but if we can at least incorporate ideas that they use, such as the ones I mentioned, then I believe we could see far better results than what we're seeing now.